It's your host, Rizari Doug Science. How's everyone doing? You know what? I don't know how my science raw sounds on a podcast setting. I usually do it at the beginning of a YouTube video, so I'm not too sure how that sounds on a podcast. I hope it sounds alright. I hope everybody's doing well. This is the very first episode of the Diary of a City Science Kid podcast. And today's episode is on mental health at universities. This is a very passionate topic of mine. I guess we're not just covering mental health just at universities. It's mental health in academia as a whole. But obviously, universities is the creme de la creme of academia, of the mind, where you find PhD students, undergrad students, master students, technicians, a plethora of that's the highest point of the mind. And this topic is actually quite an interesting topic for me. It's quite dear to my heart. So without further ado, let's get to it. One shocking thing that I found with mental health at universities, first is that understanding that the mind is the biggest tool that we use at university. It's the brain, the mind is the muscle, if you like to say, that we use in academia. It's so profound that there's no techniques at universities that basically help us hone the mind. I mentioned it's like a muscle. But before I get to that, first of all, there's a staggering statistics when it comes to mental health challenges at universities. First, I've got some statistics here. So basically, in 2016, over 15,000 first-year students in the UK universities reported to have mental health problems, compared to an approximately 3,000 in 2006. So this increase in disclosure is mirrored by a 94% of higher education institutions reporting an increase in demand of the counselling service. That's pretty crazy, but that's just statistics. It doesn't mean that people in 2006, they're just less. Maybe people just weren't talking about it. But there is a definite increase in mental health challenges. And the biggest thing that surprises me, guys, is this. This mind is like a muscle. In universities, it is the thing that we use the most. Of course, depending on your discipline, we put pressure on our brains, put pressure on our minds, because it is that which we are using. Let's say your discipline. I studied biomedical science at university, so it's very memory intense, but also problem solving intense. So the parts of the brain, we had to use all parts of my brain, obviously, in my course. But the parts of my brain that relied on memory, problem solving, is the part of my brain that may receive a lot more pressure than others. But all in all subjects in university requires us to use this beautiful, beautiful organ, which is our brain. But we are not taught techniques of how to cultivate the brain, how to cultivate the mind in our subjects, in our given subjects. For example, as an athlete, I love to do athletics. I'm not a Usain Bolt or anything, but I love partaking. When I was at university, every single year I like to partake in different sports. And then I settled on 2 sports that I really, really liked, which was in fencing and boxing. And I did a bit of rugby as well. but I absolutely love watching sports, especially athletics. And every athlete at their highest performances, at their highest game, they all have this understanding that it's not all about training. It's not all about the right technique for their given discipline, sport. Resting their muscles, stretching their muscles is very much important. It's part of the regime of an athlete. Sleep is part of a regime. They teach an athlete how to sleep. They teach them how many hours to sleep. They teach them to how to know their bodies very, very well. Stretching, all of this is part of their regime. And I feel like this should be part of the regime of academia. We should be it should be part of the curriculum, as a strong part of the curriculum, to understand how the mind works, to understand techniques that can help people recover. It's For me, that's very shocking that over the years that isn't a big part of academia. It's not a big part of the curriculum. When you have the problem, then you go to the counselor. But it shouldn't be like that. This is our muscle. The brain is our muscle. We're doing so much great things with the brain. We're creating beautiful things at university. We're at the same time, we're trying to obviously pass exams, etc., etc. But this muscle is what we're using to do breakthroughs at universities, at higher levels of academia. And I feel like mental health techniques, like stretching the mind, whatever that may be for the brain equivalent, sleep, this all needs to be part of the curriculum. Because an athlete, when they are lagging, when they are not at the highest performance in their sport, let's say they're a basketball player or a runner, a sprinter, the questions that the coaches would ask is, have you been sleeping well? How is your life outside of it of athletics um, hampering you? Are you eating well? Are you following a regime? So they're not just looking at, are you executing your techniques right, but they're looking at other factors that may be hampering. And at universities, I just believe that we need to focus on this. Um, we need to put these techniques as part of the curriculum. I believe. I just believe this. What do you guys think? Um, I just find it very surprising that these mental health techniques is not part of the curriculum. It's just surprising. It's like, yeah, it's very surprising. And like with the statistics that I gave, um, 15,000 first year students in the UK universities have reported that they had mental health problems, compared to approximately 3,000 in 2006. Of course, there may be different variables at this in this statistic. Sometimes when I hear a statistic, read a statistic, sometimes you don't always have to just take it just straight as face value, but it's good. It's a good indicator because, like I said, maybe not lot more, maybe a lot more people are going to universities now, maybe in 2016 compared to 2006. It's not a long time, so is that a factor? I don't know, but these are the type of questions I ask regarding their statistics. And were people being that open in 2006? Did they even know that the facility of counseling existed? Like, the culture just shifted for people to speak out. It's shifting. Um, so, like I said, these are the things that I ask about a statistic that I read and find out. Yeah, and what is the sample sizes, etc., etc., etc. But yeah, so for me at university, I also did experience some great challenges. So I left, like I said, I studied biomedical science at uni. Even for me, getting to university was a massive achievement. I was the first in my family to go to university. First up, my mom, my dad didn't go, my mom didn't go, my siblings were obviously the young. I'm the oldest. My grandparents didn't go to that higher level of education. So for me, it was a really big deal. I didn't know what to expect. But I had already gone, like, built a certain level of resilience of my mind, in the sense that I am dyslexic. I don't. Only recently I've accepted it. But when I was at university, I have dyslexic learning patterns. But I had this notion that I didn't really want to make excuses. So I didn't ever. Plus, I didn't know I had dyslexia until my second year of university, mid of my second year of university. So I had been going through challenges in academia for a very long time. By the point of university, for a very long time. So I had to really learn different techniques for myself in order to get through. But because I loved science so much, it just helped me build certain resilience and understanding of my mind. But university took it to a whole new level. So when I did get to university, I was also working at Spotify, the music company, and I was also working on a few inventions. I thought a few inventions at the time, whilst obviously working, it was pretty challenging. So my first year, it was okay. Got through it relatively well. To be honest, very well. Second year, that's when the pressure started piling on. I had different things going on um, outside of university. I didn't have the normal university experience. My first year, I lived like 12 miles outside of my campus. I lived by myself in a town, so I didn't really live on campus. So I had to travel in, and I didn't want to commute from my house. I just thought, this is me, university, new me, new me, new flex, new life. So yeah, I found somewhere. Which was like, yeah, 12 miles outside of my university. So I had to commute into my university for my first year. So there's a lot of challenges that I was actually going through at the time. And like I said, I got to a point where I was working at Spotify, also working on an invention that I was really excited about, and yeah, various other things at the same time. Because I was just pushing, and I didn't know I had dyslexia, like I said, in my second year. So I was just pushing, and then got to a point where I graduated on my undergrad, and whilst I was still working, pretty much full time, and working on my invention, I was just so I really wanted this idea to get off the ground. Like, really wanted it to get off the ground. I was really pushing forward from it, going to business school as well as studying biomedical science. It just got so much. I got to a point where I just crashed. I finished my undergraduate. I went into my master's, master's in sustainability, and I thought, yeah, I can handle it. Um, but I got to a point where I literally just crashed. I didn't know what was going on. Um, my personality is a bit like Captain America, in the sense that every time I fall down, I just keep getting back up. I'm like, yeah, I can do this all day. Let's go. Even though I'm battered and bruised, I'm like, I can do this all day. But after I finished my undergrad, going into my master's, I didn't take any gap year. I went straight into it. I was funding it by myself. Um, and I was getting to this point where all the techniques that I learned for myself, over the years, and I eventually started to get a little bit of support from my dyslexia in my third year of university. So I thought, okay, great. Everything I've learned about my mental health, about my technique, I can use it for myself. I can get through this. But the masters was a whole new level, and I also had a child coming at that time. It wasn't planned. It wasn't. We wasn't expecting it, and at that point, I just crashed. I just crashed. I didn't know what was going on. I was I was trying to push through. My mind wasn't complying. It just wasn't listening. I was just trying to like, what's going on? Why am I feeling like this? Why am what's going on? It wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. And then I remember reaching out to going to counselor, and a lot of things were going on that time. Like it's chaotic. I'm not doing it justice by just speaking it. But I don't like to keep focusing on myself. I just want to focus on what value of it, what value came from it. But a lot was going on. It was chaotic. But like I said, at that point, I just crashed. This was my master's was basically 2 years, 2 years part time. So I had completed the first year, and I just crashed. I know I've said it a few times, but I well and truly crashed. Um, I couldn't think straight anymore. I was just gone. So I went to counselor. I didn't know what was going on, and I explained everything to them. And then they said, "Doug, you are burnt out. You're really burnt out." And I didn't know what this word meant. Burnout. I had no clue what what it meant. Um, but yeah, I was just suffering from just being burnt out, and in turn, it was just making me a little bit more. Uh, what's the word? Depressed, because I wasn't reaching reaching the levels that I intended to reach. Because even on the masters, I was struggling with it as well, because I just wasn't. There's a lot going on, and I felt like I was managing it, but I wasn't managing everything well. Um, and I didn't have a system in place to help me. What's the word? Bounce back. Well, the system I had wasn't good enough for the feats that I was trying to pull. I explain it like this. So it's like we all have to go outside of our comfort zones to achieve things that we have not achieved before. We all have to do this. We all have to go outside our comfort zone. But sometimes, in order to achieve something that's maybe once in a lifetime, something that is you have to go really far out of your comfort zone. Not everybody may want to do this, but sometimes you may have to go really far out of your comfort zone in order to achieve a certain thing. But this comes with a price. I call this the upper limits. So you've got the comfort zone, and you've got the middle limits. Sorry, that was my speaker. You got your comfort zone, and you got your middle limit. This is a concept in sustainability. You've got your comfort zone, you've got your middle limit. This is literally just outside of the comfort zone, and you've got the upper limit. The upper limit is way out of the comfort zone. This is way out. You're stretching it really out. So sometimes, in order to be successful in certain things, maybe it requires you to go all the way out to the upper limits in order for there to be some success. This can be seen by people traveling across the from migrants traveling across deserts just to get to a certain place that they feel and believe that will give them some a good life. But obviously it comes with a huge risk. So there's certain things that I think I was doing in the sake of achievement, because I didn't have certain opportunities, so I was pushing myself to the upper limits. However, you need to have systems in place where when you do finish those upper limits, you need to understand. We need to know thyself as well. So when you do finish those upper limits, you need to be able to come back to a place to heal, to a place to recover. You need to have systems in place to help you recover and to help you keep, to stay healthy. I call these things well-being tags. And I don't think at that time I had these well-being tags or understanding of thyself to put these systems in place. I wasn't utilizing the system that I had in place. I was kind of using it and just going through. But we need to know ourselves, know thyself, to be able to create these systems in place in order for us to recover after going out into really deep waters, because I was stretching my mind. It's not a bad thing. The greats, people like Einstein, I really love the guy. He really had, he went through a lot of stress. People don't, yeah, yeah, baby mama troubles. I hate using that word, baby mama. Well, he was having some challenges with his wife at the time, and he was at the precipice of of a breakthrough of his theory of relativity. He had to literally go out of his comfort zone, gather a lot of people to go and catch an eclipse that will help his claim. So before the journey, before he was doing this, before he had to discover this, wasn't easy at all. Wasn't easy. But the thing is, the reason I brought him up, he learnt, he knew when to stop. There's times he would just stop, go down a river with his boat, and just relax, relax. So he knew what was useful for him to recover, what was useful for him to help him. So there's other things that I'm not going to cover so much, but the point is, first of all, we need to know thyself. We need to know ourselves, and we need to know certain things and techniques that help us. So I mentioned the well-being tags. After speaking to the counselor, um, I decided to take a gap year from studies. I was just so burnt out. I could barely think straight, barely see, think straight. So I said, you know what, I'm going to take a gap year. So I took a gap year, and I went. Have this. I went to a little cottage. There's this couple that I had lived with in my second year of university. Um, my first year was crazy, like just hectic, like ooh. And then my second year, I moved out of the place I said I lived 12 miles away from uni. I went to live somewhere in a little cottage with, I call them my grandparents, because I never grew up with older people before. They were the first. So I lived with them, and yeah, I lived with them for, again, so I lived with them my second year, and after my masters, I went back there just so I can just rest. So just that 1 year, the gap year, I literally just cut myself off from pretty much everything, but not everything entirely. I still had things that I had to sort out, but I really needed to recover my mind, really needed to do that. So I literally spent a lot of time in nature, a lot of time just trying to understand, know thyself, know. So I just dived into so many different things, but I let a lot of space come into it. There's a lot of times I just wasn't thinking a lot. I let a lot of silence come in to my reality. Spent a lot of time with the stars, with my telescope. And I realized it was helping me a lot. It's helped me a lot. Helped me a lot. Um, and I really realized it helped me make. I started to make different decisions. Yeah, it really helped me a lot. And then I realized something called well-being tags, and these are basically something that we have to literally, once we understand ourselves, we create a, I won't say a to-do list, but a method. For I'll just use myself as an example. So for me, working out, exercising was something very, very useful. It really helped me anyway during my journey, during university, through college. Working out was such a big thing, but I just did some of these well-being tags, but I didn't really pin it down. So for me, it was working out, very important. Um, Number one, my spirituality, my faith, spending time with God, spending time with God in nature, spending time with God just with these words, being in nature. Nature was just being around trees, the river, lakes. That was also something very, very useful for my well-being. For my well-being, eating good food. We don't realize how much our health, physical health, actually impacts on our mind. It has a very big impact on our mind, very big. Because at one point, I remember I wasn't eating too well, and it was really, really affecting me. Really affecting me. I remember, yeah, going to the doctors, getting a checkup, and my health wasn't great at the time too. So health, the food that we eat, is very, very, very important for me. So good food is very important. It's part of my well-being tag, and also being a bit creative, having a creative outlet. That's unique to myself. That may not be for everybody else. And obviously the basics of where to live, um, sustaining an income. For me, also giving back. I've learned that giving back, for me, giving back to God or giving back to just help is very, very important. It's weird, but for me, I've equated these 7 things as part of my well-being tag. And if I don't do this regularly, I realize that either because of the things that I'm trying to, feats I'm trying to pull, um, if I don't do these things regularly, it will affect it affects me. So I feel like these well-being tags, we need to understand. This came from understanding myself fully. I'm still discovering, but understanding the basics of myself and personality, I realized these 7 things. I have to be disciplined to do these things. Factor them in to my week. Factor them in to my month. Factor them in daily. Whatever, however it fits, I have to do it as regularly as possible. And if I don't, we're basically leaving room for challenges, leaving room for mental, I don't know, mental challenges, illness, whatever. But these things for me really, really help me realize actually, okay, there's a science to this. There's a science to keeping your mind healthy. But we speak about mental health a lot, but what exactly are the parameters of a healthy mind? Let's have a look. This is my first podcast, guys. First episode, so bear with me. There's always going to be a little bit of niggles here and there, but I'm really thankful for everybody that is still listening right now. Very, very grateful. We will get better. We will. But what are the parameters of a healthy mind? What does a healthy mind look like? And also, the next question will be, why is it hard for us to understand mental health challenges? Why is it hard for people to understand these type of challenges? And why do we think it's not at university that the solutions or the yeah, why don't people understand it? We'll get to that in a bit, but let's have a look at what the parameters of a healthy mind. I remember reading this some time back, and I did agree with it. See, there's so many about physical fitness, so many, but you do not find what the parameters of a healthy mind is. I remember reading, I should have wrote it down, but if you understand why it is, it's not fully surprising, to say the least. Not fully surprising. What are the parameters? Okay, I found something. It says, what is a good... I think this is what I saw. Yeah. Okay. So, the parameters... Let's just read it out. Let's see if it is right. It says the ability to learn, the ability to feel, express, and manage a range of positive and negative emotions, the ability to form and maintain good relationships with others, the ability to cope with and manage change and uncertainty. So these are like some indicators of a healthy mind. Yeah, so I do agree with that. I feel like there's other indicators, but those are definitely some good indicators, because life is challenging. Life will throw curveballs, and I know this, and I love them more. I love curveballs. However, when your mind isn't at its best, when your mind isn't at its healthiest, these challenges can seem, they may be small. Like I said, not everybody can take the same challenges. Not everybody can. We're all built differently. Not everybody can do what other people can do. That's why knowing thyself is very important. So you know what your middle limit is, upper limit. Your upper limit may be someone's middle limit. Same with physical. Some people can run faster than you, jump higher than you, or swim better, hold the breath longer. So their ability, physical ability, doesn't mean yours is wrong, or it's wrong. There's something wrong. You just need to know thyself, and yeah. So your upper limit, will be able to understand it and be able to take certain things. So not all life. So you be able to cater your lifestyle around you. But every now and again, you would need to come out of your comfort zone to deal with certain situations. So yeah, that's definitely one indicator. But why is it that it's quite difficult for people to actually understand and speak about mental health? Why is it not looked at the same way as a physical thing? When you're physically healthy, we have the parameters. Great. Mental, we have the parameters now, which I've just said. But why is it so difficult for people to understand mental injury? When there's a physical injury, it's easy to kind of like, oh yeah, identify, okay, that's a physical injury. I'll get well soon. You need this amount of time to recover. You need to do this, you need to do that to recover. When it comes to the mind, it's quite a lot of people find it difficult to be like, okay, there's a mental injury there, and we need to recover. I believe that it's because of this. There's this quote that says, I think it's Socrates, I think. The quote says, "I think, therefore I am. I think, therefore I am." This quote basically indicates that my thoughts is who I am. But this isn't entirely true. This isn't entirely true. And it's a good quote, but there's some fundamental problems with that. Because some people, we pick up habits, we pick up ways of thinking from different sources. We pick it up from everywhere, different sources, from friends, family, culture, pain, trauma can make you think a certain way. We pick thoughts up from everywhere. Everywhere. But are you those things that you pick up? When I took the time out, living in the cottage, the cabin, for a year, it helped me step away from my mind. Like I said, I let a lot of silence. I let the vertical dimension come in a lot more. I let a lot of silence fill my life. And it gave me the ability to kind of step back from my thinking and look at my thoughts, look at my habits, look at these things. I was looking at it. And these processes were helping me understand myself, helped me understand why certain things were becoming challenging, why I wasn't feeling a certain way, how I got over certain things. It was helping me see these things. And this is profound, because that is who we are. We're not the thought. We are that which we are looking at. We are the watcher. So the problem that people have is that some people feel are fully their thoughts. This quote isn't fully wrong. Some people are their thoughts. So whatever the thoughts are, they are it. They can't see past it. They have the time, sometimes unknowingly, step back and look at the thoughts. But it's not a conscious effort that they step back and look at it. So most times, if someone is working in a dysfunctional way of thinking, they are that thought. They are the dysfunction. They are the dysfunctional thought. Let's say the dysfunctional is like a static wave. They are that static. So it's hard for them, or people that fully identify with their thoughts, for them to look at someone and realize, or maybe they have some mental injury. It's harder because they are the thought. They can't see. They can see the actions that other people are giving out, but because they are fully their thought, they're just only able to see the physical actions that come from a person. So looking at a physical injury is just easier if you're fully your mind, but it's harder to look at mental injury because you literally need to just step back. This is why things like counseling, churches, spaces like these help us step back and look at these, and look at our mind. It's very, very profound, but I realize now there is a collective push now in society to understand the mind, even bring the physical fitness as part of our lives. There's a bigger push now, and I'm loving it. Like the area that I lived in, the physical well-being, like exercising together, is very, very important. It does affect the mind in a very, very profound way. Um, I won't go into the full science into this now because it is quite complex. But I will be making different videos on it on YouTube, covering certain segments. So there's a big push, especially in the UK where I'm from. There's a big push for cycling, running. People are taking up these things a lot more, and I feel like this is very important. This is very, very beautiful, very important. Like taking this back to mental health in universities. I don't know what the solutions exactly will be, but I just know it has to be part of the curriculum. The curriculum at university, we need to understand what the course is that someone is taking and understand what type of, there'll probably be a basic mental health practice for every single course, but depending on what certain courses subjects demand, it may add a bit more mental health techniques to look after the mind in those subjects. Um, yeah, and I feel like companies such as Headspace, all these apps, these companies that are coming out, I feel like they can be very big part of universities or higher education in general. It's ironic that something on our phones would help us with our minds, because people always pushing the rhetoric that phones are part of the problem, which social media and phones are part of the problem with our mental health. Like I said, I think they are phones, apps, they are tools. It's how we use them. So like companies such as Headspace, I feel like it could be part of the curriculum some way, somehow. Subscription, but there needs to be a step-by-step thing that every student should learn at schools. And I feel like that is very, very important, because I remember when I was at university, quite a few people committed suicide. It really, really got to me. It really, really got to me. Some people literally just. I remember when my sister graduated at uni as well. I went to her graduation. The same thing happened. A young girl, she graduated. She passed everything. But at the graduation day, she wasn't there. She didn't make it. She took her own life. And I think her parent had to go up and take her certificate for her. That got me. That definitely did get me. But yeah. So that's just literally a quick episode of mental health at universities. Um, yeah. So guys, I hope you like that. We will get better with the podcast, but that's literally my very, very first. That's the very first episode of Diary of a City Science Kid. We'll be diving into a lot more. Next episode will be surrounding. This one's a bit icky. Ooh, a bit icky. Knife crime. Ooh. Black on black violence in the UK. Ooh, very icky. Very, very sticky. And how culture influences it. Why is it going on? Have some perspective on it. Have some perspective. So please follow this podcast. Follow me on Instagram